It's Bullseye. I'm Jesse Thorn. My next guests, Jessica St. Clair and Lennon Parham. We talked in 2014. So male friendship is very well represented in comedy. I mean, really, 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 really well represented. But female friendship, not so much. And when we do see female friendships, the characters are sort of rote. You know, they always play the same 3 or 4 types. On their show, Playing House, Lennon Parham and Jessica St. Clair frame things differently. They've been working together for years as improvisers at the Upright Citizens Brigade Theatre in New York and Los Angeles. On Playing House, their characters are less Carrie and Miranda and more Laverne and Shirley. You can actually imagine them being buddies. The show completed its 3rd and final season earlier this year. Here's the premise. In Playing House, St. Clair's character Emma left her hometown to work in Shanghai. She comes home to her best friend Maggie's baby shower, that's Parham. They accidentally discover that Maggie's husband has been cheating on her online. It's pretty silly. It's not afraid of genuine feeling. And in this scene, Emma crams into a tiny backyard shed with Maggie. Maggie's been crying over the end of her marriage.
Really bad for a while.
Max, why didn't you tell me?
Come on, it's embarrassing. I mean, you're over there in Shanghai, hobnobbing with Asian high rollers, trading, I don't know, diamonds for briefcases of money.
What are you talking about?
I don't know, that's what happened in Skyfall.
Okay, my life is nothing like Skyfall, okay? Daniel Craig is not my boyfriend. I don't even have a boyfriend. I don't have any friends. It's pretty depressing.
Okay. Just wanted to make a right choice.
I know, but listen, you did. You made the right choice for then. All right, you were what, like 25?
Yeah.
You know, you lost both of your parents. You wanted someone safe.
What am I gonna do now?
You know what? We're gonna figure it out. But we don't have to figure it all out tonight.
I spoke to Jessica St. Clair and Lennon Parham last year. Jessica, Lennon, it's great to have you on the show. Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us. We're very excited because
It's very formal. It feels
in this
very
room,
fancy.
our voice sounds like an NPR voice, and it's very exciting. It's not the normal screech owl voice that comes out of my mouth in normal life.
It's exciting.
I read somewhere that on your last show, which was a network sitcom for NBC, what you did when you were writing it was break it down in terms of story beats, which is a normal thing that sitcom writers do.
Yeah.
Sure.
And then basically go in a room with a tape recorder and improvise the scenes over and over and just write down the jokes that you like the most.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you would have thought perhaps that process would have killed us in BFF, and it almost did, that we would change that, but we didn't. We did that again, but we perfected it, which is now what we do is we have a writer's room, and they actually come into that room that we're improvising in. So we break it with a writer's room, and then maybe the 2 writers or 3 writers that are sort of focused on that episode will come in, and they'll watch us play all the parts. So it looks like 2 crazy people. Lennon plays all the men because she can really get into a man's POV.
Okay, that's inappropriate.
But like if you can imagine, like during the romantic scenes, Lennon's playing the man with me, and then we have 3 guys in the writer's room that are just like, do we leave? Do we stay?
No, you stay there and you watch it.
You watch it.
But it was the only way we could really capture the way that Jess and I finished each other's sentences and overlap each other, or just like the way people really talk in life and
the weird things they say. We're really
when you're in a fight, when you're like in a crazy fight with someone, there are funny moments, there are heartfelt moments, but mostly you're saying insane things like, "Well, why don't you be a robot?" Like that kind of thing.
Ian Roberts, who's one of the founders of the UCB, he always taught us in our classes that your subconscious mind is where the actual funny lives. Your conscious mind is filled of all the things like
the tropes,
the Chevy Chase Fletch jokes that have been like lodged in there since 7th grade.
Yeah, the things you thought were funny when you were like 11.
Yeah, and so in order to get into that subconscious mind, the only way Lennon and I can do it is to improvise.
Do you remember meeting each other?
Oh, yes. Well, we saw each other across a crowded room a couple times.
Taking each other in. There were 2 things. I saw Jess perform, and she was screaming at someone on the ground. I remember that. And then
was I on the ground?
No, there was another woman on the ground. Who would that have been?
Tara Copeland, probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then And then the second time I saw her, so then I knew about her because everybody was like, Jessica St. Clair, Jessica
Oh,
St. Clair.
come on, man.
Oh, Jessica St. Clair, she's so funny. And then she was like booking Wendy's commercials, which was like at the time like
Listen,
as high as you could soar.
If you could sell a Wendy's salad on TV,
Yeah.
I mean, you had it made. You were
Yes,
the queen.
It's
You
true.
take a bite of that chili and then smile.
It's true.
You know what was amazing during the shooting of that commercial? I kept taking a bite and then doing what I thought was a mm-mm face, but it was really me shaking my head no. And they were like, you have to stop doing that. Also, it's very racist because I karate chopped a Chinese chicken salad in one of the spots, which I just thought was really pushing the limits of what was acceptable.
Even more with Jessica St. Clair and Lennon Parham still to come. Stay with us. It's Bullseye from MaximumFun.org and NPR.
I'm Stacey Vanek Smith,
I'm Cardiff Garcia,
and we are here with a new show.
The Indicator from Planet Money.
On every show, we take some number in the news and we dive into it to find the big idea behind it.
Get it on NPR One or wherever you get your podcasts.
It's Bullseye. I'm Jesse Thorn. My guests are Lennon Parham and Jessica St. Clair. They created and starred in the USA series Playing House. We talked when the show debuted in 2014.
Getting back to your romance of Lennon here.
Yes.
Part of what you wanted was specifically to work with a woman?
Well, I was desperate to write a story about female friendship and that kind of close best friendship that's almost, it is a romance, you know, it's like almost a romantic comedy but starring two women. And because my personal best friendships in life have been so important to me with women. And I really felt like it wasn't being told on TV or in movies. And it wasn't until like Bridesmaids, honestly, that I felt like, oh, okay, it's happening again. You know, the golden days of like Lucy and Ethel and Kate and Allie and the Golden Girls, these are all shows that I was obsessed with and I felt like it hadn't happened in a while. At any rate, I thought it would never happen. And then I saw Lennon and she was wearing a sweater set and so was I. And I thought, I honestly was like, there must be something wrong with her because why is she spending all of her time underground? In this theater below a Gristedes supermarket.
A drippy supermarket.
Listen, I don't know if you were there when the power went out, but I'll tell you what, blood dripped on my head from the butchers above, and I had to excuse myself.
They were talking about like the money that they had gotten after an ASCAP performance was going to go to buying new bins to catch the drippings from the meat from the floor from the meat juice.
And I didn't understand why my mother hated coming there. I was like, get with it and get hip. And she was like, there's a smell here that I can't get out of my clothes. But at any rate, I knew that Lennon was a similar girl and that she was a nice girl that found her way into this weird labyrinth. And I thought maybe she'll have the same, desire. And it turned out she didn't know she did, but she did.
I think one of the interesting things about the tone of your show Playing House is that it is set in a sort of small town, Anytown, USA. It is very what they may not still call, but what USA once called blue sky-y.
Oh, right.
It's very vibrant and happy in its context. Mm-hmm. And both of your characters are, they're not necessarily like super aspirational the way that the Sex and the City women were.
Right.
Or super blue collar. They're sort of like nice, regular ladies.
Yeah.
Ladies in sweater sets.
Yeah, but also there is an element of like, but we are going to go weird sometimes. Just
I mean, there's an episode where Lennon dresses as a man for half of it. And USA hasn't seen the cut yet.
Yes, they saw it on Friday. We're getting notes today.
When America sees it, I mean, it's outrageous. But basically what we wanted to do is create this kind of what we call, for lack of a better word, and we really need to come up with a better word for it.
I'm nervous about what she's going to say.
We call it girl porn.
Oh.
Because girl porn is these beautiful houses with a wrapping station and the makings for a chocolate chip cookie and, out and, the perfect throw and this gorgeous little town. And that to me was like Gilmore Girls had that charm. And I used to, escape into that. And so we always wanted to do something that had that kind of...
It's almost like a Nancy Meyers like layered look. But within that, the secret weirdos that we are kind of populating it. Because Jess and I I don't think that we're alone in knowing that most women, although they appear and they are wearing a sweater set and they have a face full of makeup, underneath they're like falling apart
at the seams.
And you know, you're always like just one step away from like having a raisin stuck to your ass all day. You know, like
right. And you're like, and thank God you have a best friend, because
to
no
tell
one else
you,
would tell
hey,
you.
guess what? You have a raisin. So, I mean, we're just kind of like showing that, like pulling the veneer back. And so we always look great, but we're always saying crazy things.
Right. And we filled that town full of all of our best friends from the UCB. So it's like it's kind of like the Gilmore Girls Stars Hollow, but filled with all these UCB weirdos.
Yeah.
So it's got a little something for everybody.
So I want to play one more clip from Playing House, and my guests are the stars and creators of the show, Jessica St. Clair and Lennon Parham. And in this scene, their characters, Maggie and Emma, are in a hardware store. And there's just sort of browsing in the aisles, complaining about how they don't know anything about hardware. And they spot in an adjacent aisle Emma's ex-boyfriend, Mark, who's played by Keegan-Michael Key, and his now wife.
Hi, Maggie. Hi, Emma. It's nice to see you. Mark said that you're back in town.
Yep, back home. You know, just helping Fatty here plop out a baby.
That's me.
But look at you. You look like you just walked out of a Hollywood salon. Oh, just gorgeous. Not the two of us. You look like a couple of sister wives. Just, you know, is it his turn or my turn? Or we're all taking a turn. So, anywho's, maybe we should go. Yeah, but you know what? We should all hang out sometime.
Oh, I don't think we necessarily have to do that.
No, we definitely should. In fact, I am not leaving until we make firm plans.
Well, how about tomorrow?
Tomorrow? Wow, Maggie. What do you have on the docket?
You know what? That is a nice invitation.
Yeah.
But
Oh, then we can do brunch.
You know what? As much as I would love to have you in my home where I live, I have to work tomorrow.
Oh.
So it's not
great.
good
Then
for me.
it's just us girls.
Are there things about lady friendship that, as a dude, I wouldn't know that you feel like you wanted to represent on TV that you think are funny?
I don't think we think that from that angle, like what do guys need to know about us girls? We just are trying to authentically represent what real girls are like in friendships and
to be fair, I meant only to speak humbly that it might be something that I don't know about. Not to say that it's your job to teach me.
No. But when we did a table read that was filled with our like closest guy friends, all comedians, and Nick Kroll said, what did he say, Jay?
He said, is this what, after we finished the reading, he goes, is this really what girls are like when we're not around? And I said, yeah. And he goes, God, I feel like Jane Goodall, you know, watching the Gorillas. Like, because it does change. We do change. Again, we act a lot more normal around you guys. We keep a lot of that crazy locked inside. But then when we're alone, I mean, all hell breaks loose.
Yeah.
I think we just wanted to show, like, that women just don't really have it together. We watched Sex and the City, and we definitely connected to the emotional stuff and the friendship part. But the part where you're wearing a tutu and, like, you know, that fantasy.
The Manolas all over town.
Yeah, you're not going to find that in Playing House.
No.
They're listening to Bullseye. I'm Jesse Thorn. I'm talking with Jessica St. Clair and Lennon Parham.
So you go to Tina's house, and it is an exceptionally, you know, it sort of looks like a design magazine house.
Yes.
And it is kind of lifestyle porn.
Yes.
But what you learn is that she has the secret closet.
The hoarder closet.
Filled with all the things she's gotten from QVC from
like
1996 to the
21
present
microwave omelet makers
Yep.
and panini presses and loofahs, etc.
And somebody like Bird Bones, she is the perfect woman. She looks perfect. You know, she has this beautiful house. When we go to the brunch, there's like a million, you know, like croissants
weird
and
fruit
weird
choices.
pastries. And we feel like these maniacs. And at one point we say to her, like, where do you keep all your junk? Like, where's your junk drawer? And she opens it up and it's got one of these, it's like this container
an acrylic,
store.
yeah.
So when we find her hoarder's closet, she's so embarrassed.
But we are relieved.
We say, this
because
hoarder.
we are like, oh, okay, so you are a real person with a hoarder's closet. You just keep it all in one insane place.
And
whereas it's coming out of, it's
all
coming
of our
out.
pores.
Yeah.
I think the main thing about female friendship is you cannot be truly close unless you confess your weirdness to each other. And there are certain girls who don't have girlfriends, and we're afraid of those women usually because they don't feel the need to say, like, oh my God, I just found a random thong in my purse and I don't know if it's mine. You know what I mean? And but that's what bonds us. Women like to say, I'm a mess, so am I.
There's an Amy Schumer sketch that perfectly articulates this, although to an extreme. But it made me laugh so hard. It's a group of women who come up and compliment each other on what they're wearing, and then the other woman has to say, no, I look like a piece of crap. Yeah. And that heightens. And then the very last woman comes up and says, they're like, oh, we love your red trench. And she's like, thanks. And then they all start killing themselves. because it's like an unspoken thing in the female world, like, I'm falling apart. This is how I'm falling apart. And you say, yes, me too, me too. Because you always, you want to be in the same place with your girlfriends and you want to be sharing the same, like, fears.
Jessica St. Clair and Lennon Parham. If you haven't seen their show Playing House, it's such a wonderful show. You can stream it on Amazon. You can find it on iTunes, among other places. Lately, Lennon has had a recurring role on Lady Dynamite, Maria Bamford's show. She is super funny on that. Jessica has more recently been on HBO's Animals, on Bob's Burgers, on Fox, and in Comedy Central's Review with Andy Daly.